Did you know most Sigma females end up walking away from relationships they once believed in? So why do some of the strongest, most emotionally intelligent women, women who know their worth, still find their relationships falling apart? Today, we're getting real about something most people don't understand. Why Sigma female relationships fail. You're not too much, you're not too cold, you're just wired differently. Sigma females move through life with quiet confidence. They don't need attention, validation, or constant reassurance. They crave peace, purpose, and a connection that feels real. But that very energy, the one that makes them powerful, can also make relationships complicated. Here's the truth. Not everyone can handle a Sigma woman. She loves deeply, but guards herself even harder. She communicates in silence, and most people mistake that for distance. She doesn't chase, and that confuses partners who think love has to be loud and obvious. It's not that she can't love, it's that she loves differently. So here are 9 reasons why Sigma female relationships fail. 1. You value freedom over attachment. You need space to breathe, grow, and just be. But most people think love means constant closeness. You start to feel trapped, and when that happens, you pull away. A Sigma female doesn't crave love that limits her. She craves love that lets her expand. For her, freedom isn't just a preference, it's her oxygen. She's not afraid of connection, but she refuses to lose herself inside one. The moment she feels her individuality fading, she starts detaching emotionally. And that's where most relationships begin to crumble, because the world teaches people that closeness equals love, but for a Sigma female, balance equals love. She can be deeply loyal without needing constant validation. She can adore someone and still want time alone. And honestly, that confuses most partners. They think distance means disinterest, but in her world, space means respect. She needs to feel like she still owns her life, her choices, her dreams, even when she's in love. When someone tries to control her or demand her presence all the time, it feels suffocating. Not because she doesn't care, but because she values emotional independence. A Sigma female has spent years building her peace, and she guards it fiercely. She's used to standing alone, to making her own decisions, to solving her problems without help. So when she lets someone in, it's a big deal. But if that person tries to make her dependent, the connection starts to rot from the inside. See, she doesn't believe in losing herself to keep someone else happy. She'd rather walk away than shrink into someone she's not. That's her strength. But it's also her curse. Because many people mistake her need for freedom as coldness. They think she's emotionally unavailable, when really she just loves differently. Her love is quiet but real. It shows in trust, not in clinginess. It's in letting her partner live fully, not monitoring every move. And if someone can't understand that, the relationship eventually breaks. The saddest part? She'll still care deeply, but she'll choose peace over chaos every single time. She won't argue or beg to be understood. She'll just distance herself until she's gone completely. And when she leaves, she doesn't look back, because she knows that if love costs her freedom, it's not love, it's control. Most people can't handle that kind of energy because they confuse attachment with affection. But for a Sigma female, real love feels like air, unseen but essential. She believes love should make you feel more yourself, not less. So when a relationship starts to cage her, she senses it instantly. She feels the pressure, the weight of expectations, the loss of self. And that's when she retreats, not out of fear, but self-preservation. Because she knows her worth, she knows peace is her priority, and she knows that if she can't be free in love, then that love isn't meant for her. 2. Sigma females don't tolerate emotional laziness. Sigma females crave depth, not drama. They're not impressed by smooth talk or surface-level charm. What gets their attention is emotional effort, someone who actually listens, asks meaningful questions, and cares about what's beneath the surface. But here's where things fall apart. Most people aren't used to being that real. They're comfortable keeping things light, pretending everything's fine, or throwing out generic compliments instead of having real conversations. That's where a Sigma female starts to lose interest. She doesn't do small talk for long. She needs a connection that feels alive, not robotic. If a partner keeps showing up halfway, half interested, half present, half invested, she notices. She always does. And once she sees that someone isn't emotionally engaged, she mentally checks out. It's not a conscious decision. It's instinct. A Sigma female has worked too hard to build emotional intelligence, and she expects the same energy back. She's not asking for perfection, just presence. But many people mistake her depth for intensity, and that's their first mistake. They think she's hard to please when in reality she just wants something real. Emotional laziness looks like someone who avoids uncomfortable conversations, someone who can't handle honesty, someone who disappears the moment things get complicated. That's the type of energy a Sigma female can't stand. She's not scared of difficult emotions. She's scared of shallow ones. She'll always choose solitude over forced connection. And that's what most people don't get. She'd rather be alone than emotionally starved in a relationship. She can sense when someone's just coasting, giving the bare minimum, or pretending to care. Her intuition is razor sharp. The moment she feels the emotional disconnect, she doesn't argue about it. She quietly detaches. People often confuse that silence for coldness, but it's not. It's clarity. She knows that love without effort isn't love at all. The thing about Sigma females is they bring depth, emotional awareness, and self-control to every relationship they enter. They don't just love with words, they love with action. But when that energy isn't matched, they start to shrink back, not because they're dramatic, but because they refuse to waste their emotional energy. She knows what it feels like to carry a relationship alone, and she's not doing it again. So when a partner keeps things surface level, never asking how she really feels, never growing, never reflecting, she starts disappearing slowly. And when she's gone, she's gone. She doesn't explain, she doesn't warn. She just moves on, because emotional laziness turns her heart cold. She wants effort. She wants awareness. She wants someone who meets her in the deep end, not someone who stands at the edge pretending to understand. So yeah, if you can't match a Sigma female's emotional depth, she won't hate you. She'll just stop trying. And that's when the relationship dies quietly, without a single word spoken. Pause for a second. If you've ever felt frustrated because someone just didn't put in the effort, drop a like and comment "Yes" below. I want to see who really gets it. Okay, moving on. 3. You don't need saving. A Sigma female isn't waiting for a hero. She's already rescued herself more times than anyone will ever know. She's carried her own pain, rebuilt after heartbreak, and learned how to stand tall in silence. So when someone walks into her life trying to fix her, she doesn't feel loved, she feels misunderstood. People see her calm and mistake it for sadness, or they see her independence and assume she must be lonely. But she's not. She's selective. She's built a life that's stable, peaceful, and self-sufficient. And when someone comes in thinking they're her missing piece, it almost always backfires. Because she doesn't want a savior. She wants a partner. Someone who walks beside her, not in front of her. Someone who respects her strength instead of trying to soften it. The problem is, most people are uncomfortable with women who don't need them. They want to feel essential, like they're the reason she smiles. But for a Sigma female, her happiness comes from within, and that throws people off. Some even take it personally, thinking she's detached or emotionless. But what they don't see is that she's just careful. She's learned that depending too much on someone can cost her everything: her peace, her freedom, her focus. So she stays grounded in her own energy, and that independence can intimidate people who mistake it for rejection. The truth is, she's capable of loving deeply, but her love doesn't come from a place of need. It comes from choice. And when love comes from choice, it's powerful. But it also demands maturity. She's not looking for someone to complete her. She's looking for someone who's already complete, someone who knows who they are, someone who can stand in their own strength while appreciating hers. Relationships fail for her when partners can't accept that balance. They want to feel like the reason she survives, when really she's been surviving long before they showed up. That's when friction begins. They start to project insecurity, trying to prove their worth by offering help she didn't ask for. But the moment someone tries to take control of her path, she starts to fade away. It's not arrogance, it's protection. Because she's been through enough to know that being saved often comes with strings attached. And she doesn't do strings. She'd rather face the storm alone than let someone else steer her ship. So when love starts feeling like a cage, she quietly slips out of it. Not out of anger, but self-respect. She knows peace is priceless, and she won't trade it for comfort. That's what most people never understand. She's not broken. She doesn't need fixing. She just needs someone who sees her strength and stands beside it, not someone who confuses her independence with a cry for help. Because once a Sigma female realizes someone's trying to save her instead of love her, she's already halfway out the door. 4 Sigma females struggle to open up. They've been their own safe place for so long that vulnerability feels unnatural. They're not cold, they're cautious. Every wall they built has a story behind it. Every silence has a reason. Sigma females have learned that most people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. So they keep things to themselves. They observe. They analyze. They measure trust before giving it. And honestly, that's why many relationships fail for them. Because in a world where people overshare everything, a Sigma female's silence feels like distance. But it's not. It's self-protection. She's been through situations where opening up only led to disappointment or betrayal. So now she speaks less, but feels deeply. When she does open up, it's never random. It's intentional. But here's where things get tricky. Most partners mistake her quietness for emotional unavailability. They think she's detached, uninterested, or playing hard to get. What they don't realize is that she's testing emotional safety. She's watching how they react when she's vulnerable, how they handle her truth, how they treat her boundaries. And if she senses even a hint of judgment or inconsistency, she shuts down completely. Not because she wants to be distant, but because she's learned that not everyone deserves full access. To her, intimacy isn't about physical closeness. It's about emotional trust. If that trust isn't earned, she won't fake connection just to make someone comfortable. That's what makes her so misunderstood. Most people crave fast emotional intimacy. They want to know everything right away. But a Sigma female moves differently. She unfolds slowly, layer by layer. Her heart is like a locked diary. You don't get to read it unless you've proven you'll handle it gently. And that takes time. But the modern world doesn't value patience. So partners get frustrated, thinking she's hiding something. They push, they question, and when that happens, she retreats even more. For a Sigma female, pressure kills connection. She needs calm, not chaos. She needs consistency, not intensity. She needs someone who makes her feel safe enough to be soft. Because deep down, she wants to open up. She wants to be understood, but she won't trade her peace for it. If she feels she can't be her full self without being misunderstood or criticized, she emotionally withdraws. She becomes the quiet observer again, watching from a distance as the relationship slowly unravels. It's not that she doesn't care, it's that she's protecting what's left of her peace. To love a Sigma female is to earn her trust, not demand it. Once she feels safe, she'll give you the most honest, deep and loyal version of herself. But until then, her silence is her shield. It's not rejection, it's wisdom, because she knows that giving her heart to the wrong person can cost her everything, and she's not risking that again. 5. You intimidate emotional immaturity. A Sigma female doesn't even try to be intimidating, it just happens naturally. Her energy is grounded, her emotions are balanced, and her confidence doesn't need an audience. She walks into a room calm but powerful, quiet but magnetic. People feel that, especially those who haven't done the inner work. Emotional immaturity can't coexist with her presence for long because she forces people to face parts of themselves they usually avoid. When a man or woman hasn't learned to take accountability, hasn't mastered emotional regulation, or hasn't developed self-awareness, being around a Sigma female feels uncomfortable, not because she's mean or arrogant, but because she mirrors truth. She doesn't play games. She doesn't chase, she doesn't manipulate, and immature people thrive on those things. They confuse chaos with love and attention with affection. When they meet a Sigma female, they're suddenly faced with stillness, a type of peace they can't understand. That stillness exposes their insecurity. Instead of rising to her level, they pull away or try to make her feel small. They might accuse her of being too serious, too distant, or too strong, when in reality they're just intimidated by her emotional discipline. See, a Sigma female doesn't explode when she's angry. She withdraws. She doesn't beg to be understood. She simply accepts when someone can't meet her there. That level of control looks powerful to outsiders, but threatening to people who feed on drama. An emotionally immature person wants a reaction. They want validation. But the Sigma female gives none. She refuses to engage in emotional chaos, and that drives immature partners insane. They'll try to provoke her just to feel powerful again, but she's mastered the art of silence, and that silence kills the dynamic they depend on. That's why so many of her relationships end, not because she's cold, but because her emotional stability leaves no room for childish behavior. When someone argues just to win, she checks out. When someone gaslights or deflects blame, she leaves the conversation entirely. She doesn't scream. She simply stops responding. Her boundaries are firm, and her peace is sacred. And emotional immaturity can't survive that. What most people don't realize is that being with a Sigma female requires emotional depth and growth. You can't fake it with charm or excuses. She'll see right through it. She's emotionally fluent. She reads tone, body language, silence. You can't lie to her soul. So when she realizes someone isn't emotionally ready to match her energy, she detaches gracefully. It's never dramatic. It's always silent. Because she's not in the business of teaching grown people how to act grown. She's done being the healer, the fixer, the emotional babysitter. If you can't handle your own chaos, you don't get access to her calm. That's what makes her intimidating, the fact that she's not moved by childish games. She doesn't need validation. She is validation. Quick check. Does this sound like you? If it hits home, smash that like button and subscribe for more content like this. Let's keep going. 6. Sigma females overthink everything. Their minds never stop, never pause, and rarely forgive themselves for missing details. It's not that they're anxious for no reason. They notice the little things most people overlook. A glance that lingers too long, a pause in a message, a change in tone. These are all data points that Sigma females absorb without realizing it. They process them, analyze them, and predict outcomes before anyone else even notices a shift. This mental habit can make relationships complicated because partners often misread their awareness as suspicion or distrust. But for a Sigma female, it's not about mistrust, it's about understanding. They want to anticipate issues, avoid unnecessary conflict, and keep their peace intact. When someone says one thing but does another, it doesn't slip past her. When someone promises attention but disappears emotionally, it's noticed, and she doesn't forget. Overthinking isn't just about worrying, it's about preparation, protection, and pattern recognition. The challenge comes when partners feel suffocated by it. They see constant questions, subtle observations, or careful silences and assume she's paranoid, controlling, or critical. But she's none of those things. She's aware, she's intentional. Every reaction, every pause, every word she weighs has purpose. It's part of how she navigates the world while staying emotionally safe. Sigma females overthink because they've learned that people often don't match words with actions. They've been let down before, misled, and disappointed by emotional inconsistencies. So now, they track patterns, notice energy, and analyze intentions. When a partner can't handle this depth of attention, the relationship starts to strain. They mistake awareness for judgment or attention for criticism. That disconnect is where many Sigma female relationships fail. Overthinking is a protective mechanism, but it also demands patience and understanding from the other side. A partner has to respect the mental space she occupies and recognize that her analysis comes from care, not control. They have to meet her on that level, offering transparency, honesty, and consistency to match her perceptiveness. Otherwise, she withdraws, not out of anger, but self-preservation. She refuses to waste emotional energy on someone who doesn't notice the effort or match the depth. And even though overthinking can feel exhausting for her too, she wouldn't trade it. It's part of what keeps her grounded, aware, and in control. She needs a partner who understands that this mental vigilance isn't criticism. It's a reflection of how seriously she takes love and commitment. Sigma females overthink because love matters to them, and they refuse to invest in someone who isn't present, emotionally accountable, and aware. They calculate risk, read between lines, and anticipate outcomes so they can protect their peace. And if a partner can't match that, she pulls back silently, leaving no room for confusion or manipulation. Overthinking is her armor, her compass, and her guide, ensuring that she never loses herself while navigating relationships. 7. You expect accountability. A Sigma female doesn't play games, and she certainly doesn't tolerate excuses. When someone hurts her, disappoints her, or breaks a promise, she expects ownership, plain and simple. She's not asking for perfection, she's asking for honesty, transparency, and integrity. Accountability isn't optional for her, it's non-negotiable. In relationships, this is often where people trip up. Most partners are used to deflecting blame, rationalizing their mistakes, or avoiding responsibility altogether. But a Sigma female sees through all of that instantly. She doesn't need someone to justify why they were late, why they forgot an important date, or why they said something hurtful. She needs someone to acknowledge it, take responsibility, and make it right. That's it. If that doesn't happen, she mentally checks out. She's done investing in someone who can't respect her enough to own their actions. For her, accountability is the foundation of trust. Without it, there's no security, no emotional safety, and no way to build a deeper connection. And she's painfully aware that pretending to accept excuses only leads to resentment later. Sigma females value their peace above all, so she won't bend to make someone comfortable at the cost of her own integrity. This makes her relationships demanding in a sense, but it's really about maintaining balance. She doesn't want to control, she wants honesty. She wants a partner who can say, "I was wrong," without hesitation or defensiveness. That kind of honesty shows strength, maturity, and respect, qualities she won't compromise on. She's experienced enough of the world to know that accountability separates people who are serious from people who are careless, and she refuses to settle for careless. When someone tries to gaslight, deflect, or manipulate her perception of reality, she's out. She doesn't argue endlessly, she doesn't plead for recognition. She simply withdraws, because her mental and emotional energy are too valuable to waste on excuses. Relationships fail for Sigma females when accountability is absent because they can't build trust on anything less. They've seen enough betrayal to know that ignoring responsibility is the first step toward repeated mistakes, and they won't participate in that cycle. A partner's willingness to own their actions is a reflection of their character, and she reads that immediately. It doesn't take long for her to decide if someone is worthy of her presence. Once she determines they're not, she moves on quietly but decisively. This is why Sigma female relationships are often misunderstood. They aren't demanding for the sake of drama. They're setting standards that protect their peace and emotional well-being. Accountability isn't a choice, it's a requirement for love that lasts. If a partner can't meet that standard, she walks away without regret, knowing she honored her values, her peace, and her heart. 8 Sigma females outgrow people easily. They evolve constantly, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Growth isn't optional, it's a necessity for their well-being. They have a natural hunger for self-improvement, learning, and new experiences, and they refuse to remain stagnant. Because of that, they need partners who can match their pace. Someone who was a good fit 6 months ago might not be one today, simply because she has grown. She notices the shifts in energy, interests, and priorities, and she expects her partner to notice them too. If the connection feels stagnant while she continues to evolve, she starts to feel disconnected. This isn't about arrogance or elitism, it's about alignment. She understands that mismatched growth leads to emotional drift, and she doesn't tolerate that drift for long. Sigma females are aware that relationships require effort, adaptability, and shared development. They invest in growth themselves, and they expect partners to do the same. If a partner resists change or remains complacent, the relationship begins to feel constrictive. Over time, the gap widens. She might try subtle ways to bridge it, suggesting new activities, conversations, or experiences. But if her efforts are met with indifference, she gradually disengages. She doesn't nag, argue, or beg for enthusiasm. She quietly steps back, evaluating whether the relationship can sustain her growth. When it becomes clear that it cannot, she chooses to move forward alone rather than compromise her evolution. This is why many Sigma female relationships fail. The partner's inability to grow alongside her creates distance that can't be ignored. She values her development too much to settle for stagnation disguised as comfort. To a Sigma female, growth isn't just a personal goal, it's a requirement for meaningful connection. She wants a partner who challenges her, inspires her, and celebrates change rather than resists it. If that's missing, the bond begins to crumble, often silently. She doesn't leave out of malice, she leaves out of self-respect. Remaining with someone who cannot evolve in step with her risks frustration, resentment, and loss of authenticity. Sigma females recognize early when the gap is widening, and they act before resentment grows. This proactive awareness allows her to exit relationships gracefully rather than linger in dissatisfaction. Growth is a non-negotiable part of her life, and anyone who cannot embrace that reality is not suited for her journey. Relationships are supposed to enhance her life, not limit her potential. That's why Sigma females outgrow people quickly. They won't compromise their forward momentum for the sake of companionship. And when she leaves, she does so quietly but decisively, understanding that preserving her peace, individuality, and growth is far more important than maintaining a connection that no longer serves her evolution. This isn't coldness, it's wisdom, it's self-respect. And it's the reason why she continually attracts those who can walk beside her rather than hold her back. Take a moment, comment below if you've ever felt yourself outgrowing someone. And hey, don't forget to subscribe because we're just getting started with the last point that really explains it all. Now let's move to the final one. 9. You love in silence, but leave in silence too. A Sigma female doesn't make her love loud. She doesn't need grand gestures, constant affirmations, or public declarations. Her love is quiet, steady, and profound. When she cares, she invests fully, often without making a scene. She notices the little things, remembers what matters, and gives attention in ways that aren't always obvious. She doesn't chase love because she knows it should flow naturally, not be forced. Her loyalty is unwavering, but it's also conditional on respect, trust, and emotional alignment. If her partner meets her on that level, she gives herself completely. But if they fail to meet her standards, she doesn't complain, argue, or plead. That's the key difference. She doesn't make noise about leaving, she simply does it. Sigma females exit relationships quietly because they understand the value of their peace and independence. She doesn't want drama or confrontation, she wants clarity. She knows that lingering in a connection that no longer serves her will only drain her energy and compromise her growth. When she decides a relationship is over, it's not impulsive. It's calculated. She's already been observing, analyzing, and processing the dynamics for weeks, months, or even years. She senses when the energy is off, when love isn't reciprocated, or when respect has faded. That awareness allows her to disengage without chaos. People often misinterpret her silence as indifference or coldness, but it's the opposite. She cares deeply. She just knows that words alone can't fix a fundamental mismatch. Her exit is a reflection of self-respect, not bitterness. She doesn't need to explain herself repeatedly because she understands that her boundaries are her responsibility. When a Sigma female leaves silently, it's not about hurting the other person. It's about preserving herself. She has no interest in dragging someone along emotionally when the connection no longer aligns with her values or energy. And that makes her relationships seem fleeting to outsiders, even though her capacity for deep, loyal love is enormous. The irony is that the quieter her love, the more profound it is. She invests in ways that matter long-term, not for immediate gratification. But when love is unbalanced, or when she senses stagnation, she withdraws just as silently. There's no argument, no dramatics, no desperate attempts to hold on. She simply steps back, protecting her mental and emotional space. Sigma females know that the world is full of connections that don't fit, and she's selective about which ones she invests in. That selectiveness is not selfish, it's wisdom. She values her time, energy, and growth over keeping someone in her life who can't meet her on equal footing. And when she leaves, she does it with grace, knowing that the right person will eventually match her quiet intensity, her deep loyalty, and her unwavering independence. Until then, she loves silently, lives fully, and leaves silently when necessary. Here's the thing most Sigma women eventually realize. The relationship doesn't fail because of who they are. It fails when they forget to understand who they need. They've spent so long navigating life independently, guarding their peace, and building their own world that it's easy to forget that a connection only works when the energy matches. The right person won't try to handle them. They won't attempt to fix them, control them, or mold them into what they think a woman should be. Instead, they will understand them, appreciate their boundaries, respect their independence, and meet them on a level of mutual growth. They'll see that independence isn't rebellion, it's balance, it's not rejection, it's self-respect. It's the ability to thrive in your own space while still being present for someone you care about. And that silence a Sigma woman carries isn't coldness, it's peace. It's the calm that comes from knowing herself, from being self-sufficient, from trusting her own instincts and decisions. It's a quiet confidence that communicates more than words ever could. When a Sigma woman finally knows herself, she stops trying to fit into connections that don't fit her energy. She stops bending, shrinking, or changing herself just to make someone else comfortable. She recognizes that love shouldn't cost her identity or compromise her standards. That's the real power move, knowing your worth, honoring your boundaries, and refusing to settle for anything less than alignment, respect, and emotional reciprocity. Understanding this allows her to engage with relationships from a place of strength, not neediness. She attracts partners who are capable of matching her depth, emotional intelligence, and independence. Those who cannot match her are no longer tolerated, and she walks away without regret, knowing she has preserved her peace and dignity. So why do Sigma female relationships fail? They fail because Sigma females refuse to settle for half-love. They refuse to accept someone who only gives partially, who only shows up in pieces, or who tries to control rather than understand. They fail because their peace matters more than approval. They would rather maintain their inner calm than appease someone else at the cost of their well-being. They fail because they'd rather walk alone than walk beside someone who doesn't get them, someone who can't meet them emotionally, intellectually, or spiritually. And that's not a flaw, it's a standard. It's a reflection of wisdom, experience, and self-respect. Sigma females understand that the quality of a relationship is far more important than quantity or societal expectations. They know that walking away from misalignment is a strength, not a failure. They prioritize authenticity over appearances, clarity over compromise, and inner peace over external validation. They measure love by alignment, depth, and mutual respect, not by superficial markers or fleeting affection. Now tell me in the comments, what's the hardest part about being a Sigma woman in relationships? I'd love to hear your story. Share your experiences, your struggles, and what you've learned about love, independence, and boundaries. And if this hit deep, go watch my next video on 8 signs you're a Sigma female in love. You'll totally see yourself in it, recognize your energy, and gain insight into how to navigate relationships with clarity, confidence, and self-respect.